Don't make a permanent decision over a temporary circumstance. Don't allow a moment of agony to make you draw a conclusion about life prematurely. Because if you just keep on walking with God, God has a way of making everything all right.
I was going through a major challenge in my life that was wearing me out, that was using me. And one of my students told me in a class that I was teaching, Lessons in Truth, she said, Les, until you handle it with grace, it will stay in your face. And it stayed there a long time. Are you going through it or are you growing through it? Are you bigger and better because of it? Because it's not going to leave you until you grow through it. Are you learning anything or are you doing it over and over and over again? Insanity is doing the same thing in the same way, expecting a different outcome.
I find so many passive Christians who have been taught the type of faith that anesthetizes your dream, originally given to us as a tranquilizer to make us content for heaven while others possess earth. My faith is a radical faith. It's not a passive faith. It's not an indifferent faith. It's not a faith that will take down on what the scriptures has promised me. You can't just sit on your couch and wait on the Lord. Can I tell you, you cannot sit on your couch and wait on the Lord. Life will pass you by. You're not waiting on the Lord. The Lord is waiting on you.
The next thing that is important is that expect things to get better for you, because they are. See, life is cyclic. You're not, whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Not to stay, just to pass. It's just going through. The biggest challenge is to know what's happening. This is a part of this thing we call life. This too shall pass. And maintaining perspective, putting it in perspective. How do we get stuck? A friend of mine working on a job, loved the company very much, expected to retire there. And one day they called him in the office, asked him for his badge and identification, told him he was fired and he had to leave then. He was devastated. And if you came anywhere near him, he will tell you his story. As we all have stories. Even when he got a job, he went on the job telling anybody who would listen how they fired him unjustly. And he always ended with, it wasn't fair. Life isn't fair. It's not fair that birds eat worms, and they do.
Don't deviate. Don't procrastinate. Don't become frustrated. All you have to do to win this battle is stay on track.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
In fact, we are often tormented by vision because the visionary sees what shall be. Means that you can't get to the destination just because you want it, just because you saw it, just because you like it, just because you need it.
You know, when you go into a service station to get gas, you don't go in there and just start pumping. When you push the lever up, it clears the previous bill. By the same token, if you want to begin to move, you got to clear your mind of all the unnecessary luggage and baggage that's weighing us down. All of us have experienced some tragedy, and if we haven't, we will. Sometimes your life will be in a slump, and you can either let it destroy your life or you can build upon it. I'm not going to let this destroy. You can permit it to let it hold you down, or you can decide, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm bigger than this. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much you work on yourself. There are some times when things aren't going to go right. There are times when anything that can happen will happen. Make a declaration to yourself. Declare all out war that you're going to get out of this rut. I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan. Continue to do those things that you know that work for you after you have evaluated yourself in the situation. Sometimes you have to back up and go within and pray and meditate and recharge your batteries. Go away, clear your head, and then come back and look at it from a different vantage point. You've got to focus on you. And as you convince you, as you sell yourself every day, you will begin to see a difference in the things that you're doing. selling yourself on your ability to perform a job, to achieve a certain objective, telling yourself every day, here I go again, and I got what it takes. This is my day, and nothing out here is going to stop me. And when you go out there in life, say, come over here. Say it again. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. That brings me to the next thing. It takes courage to act. Part of being hungry when you've been defeated, it takes courage to start over again. I used to do door-to-door sales, and I was working with another friend of mine. And door-to-door sales, I mean, it's punishing. It's cruel and unusual punishment. And I was a little boy knocking on the door. Hello, would you like to buy a nice working television set? No money down? No! Bam! They slammed the door in your face. And the friend of mine that was working with me, they slammed the door in his face, and I looked back, and he was going to the car. He said, I can't do this. And he sat down in the car, and he said, you go ahead, I'll be here when you get back. Now, he had a mother and father to take care of him. My mother was ill. I am adopted. I was hungry. I had to go on. I learned something about myself. That when you step into your fears, somebody said, it was Winston Churchill, he said that courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. When you step into your fears and continue to push yourself to go on, something happens for you. It will enable you to transcend yourself. I went to the next door. You like to buy a nice working television? No! Bam! Went to the next one. No! Bam! After a while, I no longer took it personal. And I began to play a game. I said, well, I know there's a yes out here somewhere, and I'm going to keep on until I find it. And I'm not going home until I do. And I continued to knock on doors. And then somebody eventually would say yes. And I said, are you sure? And I would go in there and I would get the sale. When you have something you want to do, if you don't develop the courage to do that which has been given you to do, and you spend a lot of time going around trying to convince other people or trying to get their approval, what will happen is that you will lose your nerve. And other people will convince you that what you're doing doesn't have any value, and you'll give up on your dream. It's an interesting thing about life, I've also found, that if you don't have the courage to act, sometimes and particularly, if you have something special to do, life will move on you. If it were not for life, I would still be a disc jockey. I didn't just leave voluntarily to go to the state legislature. I was fired. I was working on a job, and I came home one day. I was married at the time, and I told my former wife, I said, that guy Bert I work for is stupid. She said, if he's so stupid, why does he sign you a paycheck? Now, you see why I divorced her, right? I couldn't stand her. That night, I could not sleep well. Here was a guy that was controlling my life. I was going through all kinds of changes because this man controlled my paycheck. And it was Carlyle who said, truth crushed to earth shall rise again. Winston Churchill said, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end, there it is. And we know scripture that says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And the truth that I had to come to grips with, that I wasn't in charge of my destiny. The truth was that I wasn't giving all that I had. The truth was that there are some things that I wanted to do, but I didn't have the courage to act on those things. And the truth was that Bert Childs was a blessing to me. He made life so miserable for me, I had to start looking at my life differently. I started going to work earlier. I started being the last one to leave there. I started working harder than anybody else. The other guys could not. Why would you work so hard, Les? I said, I'm not working for them. I have been cheating, Bert, I thought. I've been cheating myself and my family. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do it with everything that you have. Develop the habit of giving more than what you're paid for. Develop the habit of setting standards that others will be measured by. Someone said, do not go where the path may lead, but go where there's no path and leave a trail. It is easy to be negative today. It is easy to have low morale today. I was at a corporation and they're going through downsizing and going to lay off some 1,500 people over the next few weeks. It's very depressing there. And those people that stay there 9 times out of 10, they're just going to do just enough to keep from getting fired. Anybody can do that. But if you can begin to harness yourself and say that where I am, I'm going to do the best I can with what I got, because that is an expression of who I am. If you get into the habit of just being mediocre, it will become a part of your consciousness. If you get in the habit of giving less than what you have it within you to give, it will begin to reflect itself in your personality. It will begin to damage you psychologically. And you don't want to be a part of that kind of self-destructive behavior. And so you want to set some high standards for yourself.
Be strong and very courageous. Be strong and very courageous. Be strong and be of good courage. Be strong and possess the land. Because God knows that for what you're going to do, it is not by outer strength. It's inner strength. It's not your outer strength. It's not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. That when I can't do as I would, I'm going to do as I can, but I'm not going to stop doing to the best of my ability. Hallelujah! Be strong! Strong. Strong. Strong.
For somebody going through tough times, for somebody struggling just to keep your head above water, you're smiling just to keep from crying. You're doing the best you can, but you put 1 foot forward and 2 steps are made backwards. You're trying, but things don't seem to be quite working out the way you planned. You thought you'd be in a different place at this season in your life. You're doing everything right, but you're still suffering.
Everything you imagine is a preview to a coming attraction. Once you understand that, it opens up a wide range of things and possibilities. And God puts your real life in your imagination. This is serious what I'm telling you. Don't you think it's nothing else. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. That simply means everything that's in your imagination is a preview of a coming attraction that God has for you. That's why he puts it in your imagination. That's why when you tell your imagination to the wrong people, it don't go nowhere. You ever had something you thought was a brilliant idea and you took it in there to your family and your loved ones and they shot it down because they couldn't see it, because God didn't put it in their imagination. If you want to kill a big dream, tell it that house, man, and told everybody I was quitting my job to go be a comedian. Everybody in that house shot that down. My ex-wife shot it down. Her mother-in-law shot it down. My mama shot it down. It's 1985. Who you think you are? If I had listened to them, I wouldn't even be here today.
I've gotten rid of all my problems because I have a choice. Nobody wants to hang out with negative, dark, and dysfunctional people. I've gotten rid of all things, people, and situations that I don't fuck with, including certain people in my family. I don't need no negative energy, homie. I want to wake up every day and smile and enjoy my life. I've been through enough shit, man. Nobody wakes up and signs up for dysfunction. Who does that? Where's pain? Where's dysfunction? Right there? Cool. Who does that?
That's why it's good for us to have people in our lives. You can't bring everybody into your decision-making process, but it is good to have people in your lives that you don't mind running something by. and say, man, what do you think about this? And a lot of times you're not going to want to hear what they say, but if it's somebody you trust, you ought to lean in and just listen a little bit more. What story do I want to tell later down the road? What story do I want to tell? See, every stage in our life becomes a story. And it's a story that at some point you will end up telling it. We got stories about our marriages. We got stories about how we started our family and how we've got from where we were to where we are today. Those are all life events. And eventually those life events become a part of your life's story. And so we have to remember that the decisions that we make today will be a part of our life story tomorrow. So as you're making the decision, you got to ask yourself, what story do I want to tell a little bit later down the road? And if what you're doing does not line up with what you think you want to tell a little bit later, then you might want to rethink what you are doing.
Worry will make you weak. Living stressed out will make you old, give you wrinkles, take your passion. Being bitter, angry, resentful will shorten your life. Proverbs says a relaxed attitude lengthens life. You can be 80 years old and young at heart. Your spirit never ages.
Good intentions are worthless. Worthless, folks. When are you going to fall out of love with good intentions? Good intentions are worthless unless they lead to good actions. Nobody ever had their life changed by somebody hoping, thinking. Good intentions are not enough.
The younger generation quits, so not everybody. Most of this generation quits the second they get talked to. You did this wrong, or they get yelled at. It's so easy to be great nowadays because everybody else most people are weak.
It's more important for us not only to embody that peace and feel it, but then to demonstrate it. And when we begin to demonstrate it, I think we give people permission to do the same. That means that we can't be preaching peace and then be stuck in traffic and, flipping people off or arguing with your coworker. You don't get to stand up for peace if you have conflict in your life. So when we start that self-contemplative process of looking within, and instead of judging someone or something, look to see if there's an aspect of ourselves within that person or within that situation that we may need to change. And if we're all doing that at the same time, something greater, a greater consciousness is going to emerge. And so I believe that it should never be about a person. It should be about principles. And when we stand up for principles, that creates community, because you could be one belief or another belief, but if you're sharing the same principles, which are joy and freedom and cooperation and connection, that's what builds communities.
This is a softened generation. So if you have any mental toughness, any ability, if you have any fraction of self-discipline, the ability to not want to do it but still do it. People have a hard thing understand. I hate to run. And what makes me so crazy, people go, well, why do you run if you hate it? What are you talking about? I don't want to take showers and eat either. I hate that too. That's life, man. It wasn't until I changed that mentality that I became somebody. I hated going to school, so guess what? I was dumb as shit. But if you can get through to doing things that you hate to do, on the other side is greatness. That's what people understand. By me running, I am callous in my mind. I'm not training for a race. I'm training for life. I'm training for the time when I get that 2 o'clock in the morning call that my mom is dead. I don't fall apart. I'm training my mind and my body and my spirit so it's all one, so I can handle what life is going to throw at me. Because the life I've lived, it throws a whole bunch at you. And if you're not physically and mentally prepared for that, you're just going to crumble and you're good for nobody.
And believe me, you too will undoubtedly go through half a dozen different methods over the years. As you continue to grow and develop, you will soon discover that Last year's systems won't likely meet this year's needs. You see, one of the keys to success is flexibility. We must always be on the search for more effective methods to facilitate and accommodate new ideas. And here's the little short list on the ant philosophy. Number 1, ants never quit. If an ant is headed somewhere and you stop him, he'll start looking for another way. How long will he look? Till he finds it, or just die. One way or the other, he'll find it. Just never quit like an ant. Here's the next part of the ant philosophy. Ants think winter all summer. You got to think negative when it's fun and not be disillusioned. That's why ants always seem to be in a hurry, because they're thinking winter, hurry, hurry, hurry. So you must think negative when it's fun. You must think winter when it's summer. Here's some of the best advice. Don't build your house on the sand in the summer. Why? Be given that advice. Because it's easy to get faked out in the summer. Right? Blue sky, fleecy clouds, nice weather. So you build your house on the sand. You say, no, you must not be faked out when it's nice. You must think storm in the summer and not get faked out. Now you'll look for a rock on which to build your house. Now you're going to be safe. So you can't think nice when it's nice. You've got to think storm when it's nice. And if you haven't been through one of those storms, you've got to find somebody and say, have you been through one of those storms? Scare me to death. If you will, please. So I will not be faked out here, and I will keep searching. Not to quickly build on the sand, because it's nice. The seasons are going to come and change. And if you're not educated to that degree, now you suffer a great loss. So the ant thinks winter in the summer.
Another challenging area in terms of nurturing and developing that hunger in yourself is learning the art of becoming single-minded. Learning how to concentrate. Learning how to focus in. And you'll be surprised of the things that you're able to do. When you learn how to block things out, when you learn how to keep thine eyes single, you'll be surprised of the ideas that will come to you, of the people that you'll be able to attract, of the opportunities that you'll be able to see. You'll begin to see things that have been standing there looking you in the face and say, I can't believe this has been here all this time. Here's a habit that I do. Maybe it might be of some value to you. I get up in the morning and I start writing what great ideas that I can think of today that can improve me and that will enable me to reach my goal. And I just let my mind flow. Sometimes I write 15, 20 ideas. Some days it's more difficult than others. One idea can change your life. One idea can turn your life around. Deciding that you're going to focus to develop your skills. The guy was the new owner of a baseball team that was in the basement of the league when he took it over. He went to the picture and he said, what is your best throw? He said, well, I got a good curveball and I've got a good fastball. And he went on talking about his different throws. He said, but tell me this, what is your best throw? He thought for a moment. He said, I've got a good fastball. He said, that's all I want you to work on. Nothing else. Just develop your fastball. The next year, they went to the World Series. Most people don't know where their fastball is. Most people go through life never discovering what their talents are. Most people never develop their talents. They have skills and abilities, but if you don't nurture them, if you don't develop them, they will never serve you. Your gifts can take you many places if you develop your gifts. Most of us don't like to do those things that come easy to us. I've always loved to talk to people. I decided, taking this advice, to develop my skills as a speaker. And my gift has developed and it's taken me many places. You have something that you brought to the universe. And that if you decide that my life deserves my developing this, what I do well, and becoming the best at it and mastering myself and seeing what I have within me, if you decide to drop your buckets where you are and develop your gifts, I grant you, you'll never, ever be without. I grant you that your gifts will take you places that will literally amaze you. I grant you that if you begin to work to develop your gifts, You'll develop a strong sense of happiness. You'll get a larger vision of yourself, because part of beginning to get a larger vision of yourself, all of us need some area of our lives where we can have a feeling of competence. That people know when they think about this area, that's something you do. That you eat and sleep that. And that you do that. You do that. People know it. And you know it. And you know that you know this. If you don't know anything else, you know this. Can you tell I know what I'm doing? Oh, hello. You know this. So you've got to work on it. When other folk are having a good time, you've got to have the strength of character to concentrate, to read, to digest information. If you decide in any particular area that you're concerned about, to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to read one book a month in that area, in 5 years, you'll be among the top 5% experts in the world. I read a minimum of 2 books a week. The average American reads only 1 book a year. If you decide that area that you love, that you are going to master that particular area, in this era of accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition, as you begin to develop and expand your skills and your talents and your vision of yourself, you will always be in control of your destiny. The next thing is, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to do it massively. I have a friend who was telling me that his sales were down. I said, well, how many phone calls you make a day? He said 25. I said, double them. Make 50 or 75 or 100. He said, oh man, that's just too much. He said, what do you mean too much? You behind on your bills? You talking about too much? You know one way to get back on your feet real quick is to miss 2 car payments? You talking about you're tired? There's no competition out here. Decide that you're going to push yourself. Most people won't do that. Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful. There's nothing as powerful. It's hard to kill the human spirit. They asked Benjamin Disraeli, a man who became the head of a country at a time when Jews were not allowed out after 10 o'clock. They said, how did you do it? How did you achieve it against such great odds? He said, nothing can resist the will of a people that will stake even their existence on the extent of their purpose for good. That when you have a made-up mind, when you decide that you want to do something, I was reading something the other day, he said, the power to hold on in spite of everything, the power to endure, this is the winner's quality. The hunger, the ability to face defeat again and again without giving up. This is a winner's quality. You have that quality within you. When you're hungry, you don't care about the facts. You don't care about the odds. Doug Williams played for the Washington Redskins, quarterback. John Elway of the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. Everybody was talking about Elway. After the Super Bowl, when Doug Williams made a historic passing game, they asked him, said, how were you able, in spite of all of the negative publicity saying that you couldn't win, how did you do it? He said, I ignored my critics. I just didn't pay any attention to them. I ignored myself because they kept on saying it so much. There were times I doubted whether or not I can do what I needed to do. There's a Doug Williams in everybody here. There's greatness in you. And you've got to learn how to tune out the critics outside and the critic inside. And says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to harness my will. And I'm not going to let anything stop me. I deserve this. I'm going to do it until. And this friend, I told him, said, start increasing your calls. I said, I make 100 calls a day. I got a callus in my ear. My ear kind of dark. You can't see it, but it's there. His sales have increased. He's working harder now. The other thing is that if you want something, you have got to be relentless. You've got to learn how to become resourceful. You've got to learn how to become creative. When crises strike in your life, and in the Chinese language, crises mean danger, but it also means opportunity. And this is an opportunity for you to grow. And you've got to be so relentless, regardless of what comes down the pike, that you're always looking for a way to get over, always looking for a way that you can break through, always looking for a way that you can win, and always looking for a way that you can strike a telling blow. And pretty soon, I think there's some people watching us in the universe that say, wait, let's call a meeting over here. You know that guy Mustafa? Look at him down there. He won't stop. Just that fool don't know he can't get over. Look here. Why don't we do this? Let him go and let's mess with somebody else. Just let him go on through. Life will just get tired of whipping you sometimes. And just say, let's just let this one go. I believe this. Now, no one has told me this, but I just kept on kicking. I didn't have sense enough to stop. I was intelligently ignorant. I didn't know what I couldn't do. So I just tried anything. And the fascinating thing about life, because you can't get out of it alive, you might as well have a good time, you know? You might as well have a good time. Live your life with passion, with some drive. I was giving a seminar the other day, and I mentioned that I was going to do some training in August with some young teenagers and take about 100 away to a 2 or 3 day camp and wipe them out. Been working on this. So after the speech, one of the parents walked up to me and said, Mr. Brown, I'd like for you to do something for my son. He's not motivated. I said, I wonder why. I wonder what's wrong with him. He had no fire whatsoever. See, what you do speaks so loudly, folk can't hear what you're saying. And so if you don't have any fire, you know, you've got to watch the people, the relationships that you develop. Have people of kindred mindsets. If you're around folk who are dead and negative all the time, they will affect you. You want people that are around you that have smiles on their faces, looking good. I was telling a group last week, Abraham Lincoln refused to hire a guy because of his face. They said, but the guy can't help it. He said, anybody over 30 is